You're watching StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh Revi. Joining us from Hanoi is Dr. Tinh. He's the Director General of the Institute for Foreign Policy and Strategic Studies. Dr. Tinh, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Tinh, just wanted to talk to you about how significant it is that the new Japanese Prime Minister has chosen Vietnam as his first foreign visit, especially in the light of countries like Vietnam and Japan facing a lot of aggressive posturing and behavior from China. So, how significant is it being viewed in Vietnam itself?
The visit is surely a reflection of the importance of the strategic partnership between Vietnam and Japan. The two countries have enjoyed a lot of fruitful areas of cooperation in the last years, and I believe that it's going to be continued in the future. So the visit, as the his predecessor, Prime
Mhm.
Minister Abe, he chose Vietnam and Indonesia as the first stops in his term to, I think, first of all, to reinforce the bilateral relationship, as I mentioned, but also to send a message to the world that Japan actually places a lot of importance on the region of Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asia is, seen by Japan as one of the most important strategic areas uh, for cooperation in all
Yeah.
fields. So that I think that is the message that I can see from the visit.
Dr. Tin, you're talking about a message to the world, and clearly your neighbor, Beijing, China, the PRC, will be also seeing that message. And it is clearly also being sent as a message because Vietnam is seen as one of those countries that has been pushing back against China's aggressive behavior.
Uh, I haven't seen uh, a clear connection between the visit and the thing that you mentioned, because Vietnam foreign policy is to maintain healthy and productive relationships with all partners,
Mhm.
including Japan and China and other countries in the region. So I believe that from my personal perspective, the visit seen from Hanoi is a move that reflects Vietnam balanced approach to regional affairs, and that should be seen in the overall Vietnam foreign policy of diversification and multilateralization of international relations. So I would rather see it in the bigger picture
Yeah.
versus any particular or target or things that we just opposed against.
Fair enough. But in terms of the outcomes of Prime Minister Suga's visit, we do know that there has been a defense agreement. Not much detail is available, but defense cooperation between Japan and Vietnam has been progressing along the years. You've been given or will be given radars, coastal patrol boats, I think, and other equipment that Japan can now export because of the change in its constitution since 2014.
Well, the defense part of the strategic partnership, Vietnam and Japan call it extensive strategic partnership for peace and prosperity in the Asia Pacific, in Asia. It contains the elements of defense cooperation, I believe. And I agree that we could see from the unfolding of this strategic partnership having more and more cooperation in the defense and security areas, and uh, and I think that is first of all because of the needs of each side to step up the cooperation in this area. I don't have the details
Yeah.
of those arguments, But I trust that, along with the growing confidence between Vietnam and Japan, I believe that areas of cooperation should see some progress going forward.
Yeah, other area of progress between Japan and Vietnam again has been the economic cooperation, and that again is being seen as, say, moving supply chains or manufacturing plants and institutions out of China, and Vietnam has been one of the big gainers in that.
Um, I agree with that part of economic uh, cooperation is a central theme in the bilateral relations because it is a success story between Vietnam and Japan. It is so fruitful, both in terms of uh, trade and investment and other areas, I guess. Uh, but the resupply, the supply chain shifting that we see in the region right now is something that I think policymakers on both sides should think about, and the idea behind this, all the supply chain shifting thinking is to make sure that they have the continuity in the supply chain versus cut-offs or a discontinuity in the supply chain is not both Japan and Vietnam. So I think there should be a overlapping interest there to complement each other in the new normal of the supply chain. And I also believe that the discussion is also broadened to include ASEAN in
Mhm.
that connection. So I think Japan would think of the whole region of South Asia for its supply chain policy together with other areas of the world.
You mentioned Vietnamese foreign policy as being a balanced approach to the region. Japan also follows that to a large extent, and many other countries, of course. But when you see what Prime Minister Suga's speech at the Japan Vietnam University,
Yeah.
where he refers to the area, to the Indo-Pacific, to the Asia Pacific, the need for free and open navigation, and he's talking about laws, the international laws of the sea not being broken. Clearly, it is referring to what Beijing has been doing in the area.
The the Japanese government has expressed support for the IOIP, the Indo uh, you know what is that called, the ASEAN
The
outlook for the
Yeah.
Indo-Pacific. So that document contained principles that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So it promotes rule of law, openness, transparency, freedom of navigation, and all these areas. So I trust that there would be the an areas of concern for both Japan and ASEAN to uphold those principles, and uh, and the efforts taken by Vietnam and ASEAN and Japan is to uh, make sure that uh, the commonalities should
Mhm.
be broadened and deepened to for the benefits of Japan and ASEAN and for the region. So I trust that that would be a focus of the speech that he delivered at the Vietnam Japan University.
Dr. Tin, again, you're talking about commonalities, and another commonality that has emerged in the larger region is what's called the Quad. There was a ministerial meeting in Tokyo 2 weeks ago. Now, India has also invited Australia's Navy to participate in naval exercises in November, late November, to complete the maritime dimension of the Quad. There's talk of a Quad Plus, which could include Vietnam, say South Korea, Indonesia, other like-minded countries. How do you view these groupings that have a commonality of interest, which is clearly, again, is pushing back against China's aggressive policies? in all dimensions, not just militarily, but economy, in trade, in cyber, in diplomacy.
ASEAN is and Vietnam supports, I think, any initiatives or groupings or ideas or programs proposed by a partner of ASEAN or Vietnam, as long as these initiatives and ideas are conducive to peace and stability in the region, and more importantly and ideally, those
Mhm.
ideas complement ASEAN roles in the region and support ASEAN centrality. And I guess that the notion behind all these things is not to design any mechanisms to be against any third country. And that has been a clear direction for many countries in the region, not just Vietnam. I believe that India would take the same approach. But at the same time, I think there are a lot of areas that need to be uh, you know um, that need to have deeper and stronger commitments and cooperation between regional countries. For example, in the fight against COVID-19 and other
Mhm.
non-traditional security issues, there are areas that I think regional countries should step up cooperation and coordination. So as long as any initiatives or groupings that meet those kind of needs and observe the principles of ASEAN, of the Indo-Pacific outlook, the ASEAN outlook on the Indo-Pacific, or uphold the rules of law and respect international law, I think it will have the support from regional country.
India is very sensitive to what you were just mentioning of how ASEAN should be central to any kind of opportunities and initiatives in the Indo-Pacific. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made that very clear, even going back years in Shanghai. Just wanted to talk to you, Dr. Thin, again about India cooperation, and that has been progressing. There's still a lot more potential. There is also talk about increased defense cooperation with Vietnam, and reports suggesting that high-end technology like the BrahMos supersonic missile is something that Vietnam has been desiring and India could provide.
India is certainly a one of Vietnam's most important strategic partners. We call it the comprehensive strategic partners, right? So it's a very high level of commitment and cooperation and trust between the two sides, and it has a long tradition of relationship, and it has absolutely profound overlapping interest between the two sides, whether that is economic or defense and people to people and cultural and education, you name it. And defense is one of the areas that I see some of the potential for the two sides to go further down the road. I won't go into the details here because I'm not a technician in that area. But I believe I agree with you that the potential is still there. There's a room for development. For example, I mentioned earlier that there are a lot of challenges out there.
Mhm.
In the cyberspace, in non-traditional security, preserving peace and stability in the region. There are areas that I think India and Vietnam should work closer together to achieve the goals that is desirable for both sides. I'm going to leave it to experts in this area to give you the details. But like I said, I believe that India has a lot to offer to Vietnam. And Vietnam can share experiences and things that I think Vietnam is capable of with India.
Dr. Lê Dinh Tin, again, appreciate your time so much. Thank you for appearing on StratNews Global.
Thank you.
And you can get all the latest news and analysis on our website from an Indian perspective. If you do like our kind of journalism, do support that. You've been watching StratNews Global. I'm Amitabh Revi.